We are live. Hello, everybody. How are we doing on this awesome Friday evening?
What up? What up, everybody?
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Let's see, we got 10 people in here already. We got Red Tyrant Hunter, Sandra Moody. Hello. We got Joe Morgan. Prep for it. Tasha's here.
All right. Hey,
See
Tasha.
Emily L. Deborah E. Nice. Welcome, everybody. Um, So anybody have anything really cool? Spotted volunteer, hello. Anybody have anything really cool or fun or anything interesting they want to share with us today while we wait for the room to populate? Angela Bowles, how you doing?
Hey,
Virginia
Angela.
Roots, what's up, Virginia?
Morning,
Ronnie
Virginia.
Brown,
You see what Virginia put? Morning.
morning.
Yeah,
That sounds about right. She's up all night long.
that's true. Girl, come on. It ain't morning. She's like, it's morning to me. Shut up.
Just got out of bed. Trust me, it's morning. Joe Gill, welcome. Leslie, hello.
Heck yeah.
What'd
Man,
you get done today? What's
I built a fish cleaning table out of a folding, uh, one of them little folding plastic picnic tables. I built a complete fish cleaning table out of it. I mean, I added faucets and all kinds of stuff, and made it to where it's a pretty neat little deal. I've got about $70 in it, and you can get them online for anywhere from 60 to 150. But they all got sinks in them, and anyway, I got a video that's been trying to upload for like 4 hours, and I don't know what the crap, man. It
internet's been crap. Survival Julia, hello. Red Burning Fires, welcome. Shift Kicker,
that's
what's
survival
going on?
Julie.
Dusty Data,
And
what's happening, my brother?
what's up, Dusty? But yeah, and then I mowed and weed eated and trimmed up the hedge bushes out front and got my yard all nice and clean just in time for the rain starting tomorrow.
There you go. Hutch is in the house.
What up, Hutch?
What up,
Seen
Hutch?
I seen
Yeah, it's been
Hutch and
raining for like 3 days. It's been
I've
raining
seen
nonstop for about 3 days. But man, my garden has exploded, man. My tomatoes
oh,
have doubled. They've exploded. I actually had to go out there today and tie up my potato plants.
yeah, my
They were
potato
just drooping.
plants are
Yeah,
going
had to
nuts.
go.
So is my tomatoes.
Be Charming, what's going on? Brenda, hello. All right, well, we got about Kicking It Homestead. What's going on? Welcome. Well, we got about 30 people in here. You want to go ahead and read it off for us, Backwoods? We'll get started.
Yeah, give me just a second here to get back over here to it. All right.
Okay, we can start now. Susanna made it. We can go.
Oh, Susanna's here.
Yeah,
Well,
she
we
made it,
can.
so we
Yeah,
can start.
okay. We can start now. Um, I can't do anything without the old Susanna. And so anyway, it says, "Dear Ghost, dearest Ghost, if you lived in a population where you were the minority, meaning race and values, and you loved your home, would you still hold your ground and work on your lot, lay low and be diligent?" I knew growing up close to Mexico was and is different, um, is a different culture. So, in other words, living close to Mexico would be a different culture. But now it's just flat gone ghetto. Trouble is, it seems like it's everywhere now. So, why run if the enemy wants you? They're going to find you. Um, they are living on our street. My motto is, as long as the situation does not come into my little space, then I'm good. I have a BOL, bug out location, with a mag. However, I prefer to be alone. I cannot express how grateful I am to your channel. If you ever sell merch, I'm buying. If you ever have a group, I'm joining. And if you ever shave your beard, I'll never look at you again. No, it doesn't really say that. But anyway, just basically says we manage a family criminal law firm in Texas. If I can help, which nobody cares for law in SHTF scenario, laugh out loud. And if I can help in any way, please never hesitate to let me know. I miss loyalty.
Yeah. This
Last year,
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
last year was a huge wake up call, but you knew all along, I bet. You knew the atrocities men were capable of with your experience. Thank you for being here. From Nikita Ops. I
Yeah,
like the part
yeah,
about I miss loyalty.
yeah.
Me too.
I remember when this I first got this email for this scenario, and I kind of went, "Whoa, man! I don't know if we're going to touch that one." With all the stuff going on, and then the more I read it, I'm like, you know what? We need to talk about that one because I know it was going to be not necessarily inflammatory, but it's a topic that a lot of people like to bob and weave and dodge. And you know what? I don't care. We're going to talk about it. It is what it is, because
Right.
it's a realistic and very valid concern that could probably affect, at minimum, at least half of us, in an
Right.
SHTF situation. In reality, it's affected hundreds, if not hundreds of thousands of people in the last 16, 18 months in different areas of the country. So yeah, it's a valid topic, and it needs to be talked about. And I'll kick it off with, you know, the first thing you do is you look at the scenario or the situation with race not even in the equation. Get rid of race, get rid of creed, get rid of religion, get rid of nationality, all that. Look at the situation as it is. You love where you're at. It's awesome. But, if you got to say the word but, what's that word somebody always said about when somebody says the word but? Everything
Yeah.
after it's horse shit, horse crap, excuse my language. Um, if if your location is defensible and tenable in any scenario, then by all means stay. If your location is, you don't want to leave just because you like the place, and security wise and safety wise it's a bad idea, leave. It doesn't have anything to do with your neighborhood where you live. I mean, if you live in the most beautiful, $2 million penthouse apartment in downtown New York City or Detroit or LA, leave. I don't care how much you got into the apartment or anything else. Leave, because you are in ground zero. That is not where you want to be. Um, if you are in an area to where you can defend against one and all, and you feel that you have a very, very good chance of maintaining some semblance of life and safety and security, then by all means defend your position, because if it's a true SHTF situation, you're going to eventually have to defend it at some point in time. So you want to pick your strongest possible point. Now, I know you said you had a bug out location. It may be, if it's reachable in, a decent amount of time, and it is defensible, and it is out of the hot zone, so to speak, then yeah, I would consider having that, option number one. And by having it being option number one, I don't know your exact situation, but I can lean towards the fact that you are in an area that has you worried. So in that case, and I don't know your family, the number of husband, kids, animals, things like that, health issues, mobility. I don't have any of that information on you, but I'll just go ahead and assume that you're ambulatory, and then say it's you, your husband, and if you do have kids, they're not toddlers. They can, basically shoot, move, and communicate. They're teenagers. So bugging out to me would be something that would happen right off the bat. as soon as the balloon goes up, you're one of the first ones that are in the vehicle and gone. Getting there as quick as you can before everything gets stupid. Because within 30 minutes of something going crazy, that's when the shopping spree starts pretty quick in an urban area. So you definitely don't want to be there when the sale goes on the Nikes and the flat screen TVs. And that's, you know, from an actual prepping standpoint, though, that's my opinion on it, is to look at it just from prepping. And now what I'm going to do is let Backwoods jump in there, and then we'll circle back. You like that? We're going to circle back and we'll get to the race and the religion and all that part. Go ahead, Backwoods.
Well, the first thing I want to say is that when SHTF, or as Ghost likes to say, the balloon goes up, you're going to have to understand that there's going to be those that do and those that don't. There are going to be those that make it, and there's those that won't. And I mean, that's just all there is to it. And I think you always are going to increase your chances by moving out of an area to where there is, if there's any gang activity, any heavy gang activity in your area whatsoever, I would suggest that you either join the gang or you get the heck out. That's just because there are those that, the thing about it is that you're never, you know, the safety and security is got to be to your best advantage. You know, the balloon goes up, SHTF, yada yada. You're not going to have full security. I mean, heck, look at it now. We don't even have full security now. You know, so you know that's one of the things you got to understand is that, you know, we don't, you know, you can't even know if your house is going to get broke into tonight. But I can guarantee you, once SHTF happens, you know, you're going to have to be on guard constantly. I'm gonna say that, you know, I live more up in the mountains and hills, and you know, it's a lot more laid back. I mean, we have all kinds of races here. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Different races, different stuff, you know. So it's not like it's just an all white community or all black community or anything like that. It's you know, it's more of people that are more like minded, that enjoy being up here, you know, that enjoy having the little more of a country life, you know. So I don't know, my personal opinion, it to me it seems disastrous to stay there. That's my personal opinion.
Thank you, Dusty. Appreciate that, brother. Thank you very much. Yeah, in that situation, look at it from a prepping standpoint. Get rid of the whole race religion thing. And yeah, you covered on a good point. If you're in an area that has high gang activity, that's a bad place to be. The only positive update from that is usually they're going to burn through that area super quick, super fast, and move on to other stuff. But it's a bad place to be, especially if you've got a family involved. You know what I mean? It's just, it's not a good thing, you know. And 9 times out of 10, when you're talking gang activity, you're talking high population density. You're talking, it's already a place that you don't want to be when the balloon's up there floating around, because it's bad news all the way around for everybody. Yeah, so I definitely get rid of that. And now I guess we can get into the good stuff, the meat of the topic. And that's going to be the race, the creeds, the nationalities, the religion areas, things like that. Because throughout history, even now today, people come together in little cliques, whether that be religious or racial or cultural. I mean, in all the big cities, you've got Little Italy and Chinatown and things like that. People feel comfortable with other people that either believe like they believe or look like they look. They're more comfortable that way. It's a natural human defense mechanism because there are strength in numbers. And that needs to be taken literally, because there's strength in numbers, strength in doing bad stuff, as well as strength in doing good stuff. So you want to really, really watch it. Kicking It Homestead, new member, thank you very much. Zani, thank you very much. I live in a big city, diverse neighborhood, work all together, help each other. Yes, very much. The thing is, people naturally come together in groups. So that's always going to be an issue. It can be a good issue or it can be a bad issue. Are you in an area where there are groups and you have strength in numbers, or are you that odd man out? If you're like in the serious minority in an area where, let's just, in an area where you're completely outnumbered, and you feel uncomfortable on a normal Monday through Friday, not SHTF, just a normal day of the week. If you already feel uncomfortable and outnumbered, you might want to look into moving, even if there is no crap hitting the fan, if that's the way you feel about it. I mean, because that fear is going to take over your life, and you don't want to be a part of that. Now, in an SHTF situation, what you're going to have, at least in my opinion, you're going to have people, those groups they're going to tighten. They're going to really tighten up. They're going to, if this group or people, so to speak, have evil on their mind, if they are the kind of group or the kind of people, call it a gang, say if it's a gang and they're already used to taking advantage of people, they're going to kick it into high gear when the lights go out. Okay. So it's an SHTF situation is just going to amplify what you already do in your normal everyday life. Me, speaking from personal experience, I've been through a few disasters. I've been through times when there was no power for weeks and months, or for weeks at a time. And it'll surprise you how much people actually come together. And I mean people of all races, all religions, all creeds, all colors. It doesn't matter. People generally want to help other people. And the whole color part, that goes straight out the window. If you're a good person, it doesn't matter what color you are. You want to help other people because you naturally want to fit in, and you have your own little group. Now, if you're in the middle of, I mean, if you're say you're a black guy or a white guy, or a black woman or a white woman, and you live in the middle of Chinatown, and there's all this, everything's going crazy with people being aggressive and assaulting the Asian population. Well, you know what? You're probably not going to feel comfortable living in an Asian neighborhood, because of possible retribution, not directly to you, but to the color of your skin. That's a very, very uncomfortable situation to be in. And that's on a normal day, not post SHTF. Post SHTF, the color, race, religion thing is going to rear its ugly head at the very beginning. That's when the gangs and the groups of idiots that are out to get new TVs and new shoes, that's when they're going to show their ugly face and try to prey on the weak. I firmly believe that is going to dissipate real quick, real fast, after the first 72 hours to say a week, when everybody realizes that we're on their own. When people realize that they're on their own, they're going to not immediately, but there will be a huge amount of regret and people changing course, because just being a predator is not viable in a survival situation. It's effective, but mentally and for stability wise, it's just not viable. If you're in a group and your number one mission is to take from other people, it won't be very long before members of that group start taking from each other, and it falls apart. It's the complete opposite of an effective SHTF scenario that we talk about every week. And the bones, the skeleton of that group, they're built on taking from people. Eventually they're going to start taking from each other, and it's all going to fall apart. So I believe balloon does go up, that it's going to cross over racial and religious and cultural boundaries. Just like, I mean, look at history, for instance. I mean, the machine, and I'm going to call the machine, the man. All right, the machine that runs everything. If you look through history, and especially what we're going through right now, the machine uses the divisions and the natural differences in between people against each other to further certain agendas and certain media type. The media, look, let's be honest, okay? The media and news companies and newspapers, they make money off of racial violence and racial division. They get more print time, they get more airtime, they get more views, they make money off of that division. It generates income for the news companies. So why would they want it to go away? They don't want it to go away. Just like diabetes, they don't want it to go away. They make money off of this racial division. It makes for good reading. It keeps people upset and stirred up. And if you're in charge of the machine and you've got, say, two different color people on the planet, say we're talking about green people and purple people, and say the green people and the purple people outnumber me and my machine, 10-1. Well, you know what? If I can get those green people and purple people to stop hanging out with each other, stop talking to each other, to be angry at each other, show some violence on TV of the green people being mean to the purple people, and me showing support for the purple people that are being picked on, then guess what? Now the purple people are on my side and they work for me. Now I can generate false narratives and keep stirring the pot. And instead of the green and the purple being friends and raging against the machine, now it's me and the purple people against the green people, and they're outnumbered. And that's been going on throughout history. The machine plays the race card over and over again. If it was just us getting along, probably wouldn't have any issues. But if it wasn't for the media and the way some of the videos are being released and the narratives are being written, there wouldn't be a race issue. There really wouldn't. People are people. There's not an issue until people let you know there's an issue. I mean, look at little kids. They don't care what color you are, man. Get in the sandbox. Let's play. It's when they go up. It's when you grow up that you get taught not to like the other person. You get taught that, hey, you can't play with them. You get taught you can't talk like this person. You can't act like this person. You can't listen to that kind of person's music. When you're a kid, you don't know that, man. You just want to play. And it's when you grow up and this machine takes over and it beats that racial, I'm better than this kind of person. You can't do this. You can't do that into their head. That's the main issue. And almost, to be honest with you, the one positive I could think of that's going to happen when the balloon goes up is the racial division is going to go away in short order. And I think people are going to come together and work as a group and as a community and as one people. And I think it's going to be awesome. That'll be the first and probably the only positive that's going to happen post SHTF, in my opinion. What do you think, Backwoods?
Yeah, I mean, I think soon as the news agency gets turned off, when the lights go down and all that, I think a lot of people are going to, there'll be a time for a little while that people are going to start to kind of racially divide. This is my kind of opinion on this. They're going to kind of tend to move over towards their own race. But I think what's going to happen is they're going to quickly start to see that, wait a minute, even though this guy's black like I am, or even though this guy's white like I am, or even though this guy's Chinese like I am, I think they're going to quickly find out that, wait a minute, we don't really click. I don't think the way this person does. And then I think that's when people are going to start to kind of come back around and, kind of move more towards like-minded people. And I think once people get away from the media, I think they'll find that just because you're a certain color or a certain race or whatever it is, that not everybody that's like you thinks like you. And, that's one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is, and I think that's why you see a lot of, let's say, for instance, if a black person votes conservative, they get called all kinds of nasty names, and people are like, wait a minute, you're black, you're supposed to vote Democrat, but who said? You know what I'm saying? I mean, who said? Why is it, that's actually a form of slavery when you're expected, because you're this or because you're a certain color or whatever. That's actually slavery to to say, because you are this, you have to vote this way, or because you are this, you have to act this certain way. That's if you don't, it's unacceptable. Well, that's slavery. That's totalitarianism. You know, so when when you I think people are going to start to afterwards. I think people are going to start to see that there wasn't near as much racism going on in this country as the news media made it out to be, and as the politicians are making it out to be. I don't, I don't care what color, what race, what religion. I don't care if we're compatible. We're compatible to hang out. Um, I've got a buddy that I've said this before. I've got one of my best friends. He's gay and he don't believe in God. But he's a good dude. We talk to each other, and he comes over and has a beer here in the shop with me, and I mean he's a good dude. I'm not going to hate on him just because of you know what I'm saying? I don't think the hatred is out there as big as they make it out to be. And I think that one of the things that I think once SHTF happens, I think you'll see a lot of coming together, of races to start out with, and then you'll see a move out away from that, and people will start to move towards compatibility, which I mean that's really already happening. And it's been happening for years, but I'm saying I think it will increase big time, when SHTF happens.
And as soon as the media goes away, as soon as
Yeah,
you're done with the media, you
right.
get that person there with that big stick stirring the pot. I mean, here's your perfect example. Do you realize how many people on the planet, or at least in America, actually believe that the Civil War was fought to free the slaves? Do you realize that people actually think that the North went to war with the South to free the slaves? And that is the biggest hunk of horse shit I've ever heard in my life. People, do some research, look at your history. The Civil War was fought for a little less than 6 years. 3.5 years into the Civil War, when the North was getting their asses kicked, excuse my language, their butts kicked, that's when Abraham Lincoln did the Emancipation Proclamation. He did it because they were losing. It was a publicity stunt to try to get some morale going and try to get an uprising started in the South. The Civil War was mainly started because of the 3/5 vote, where each slaveholder got 3/5 of one vote in Congress, or in their area for their congressman. And there were way more slaves in the South than there were in the North. Yeah, there were a lot of slaves in the North, but the
Yep.
South had more slaves because of all the crops that were growing. So the South was going to take control of the government, and the North just could not. They were not having it, and this was in the Constitution. The North just wasn't having it because of the 3/5 law. That's that's the main reason why the Civil War started. It was for governmental power. It had nothing to do with color. And now then they were getting their butts kicked, and Abraham Lincoln had this awesome publicity stunt to go on. At the time back then would have been CNN, and to make his familiar speech that everybody associates with. Look, here's the thing: if it was fought for if slavery was the motivating factor for the Civil War, he would have read that speech on day one. Okay, not halfway through.
Yep.
At all. And there were still slaves in the North the entire time this was going on. There were still slaves in the North after the Civil War had ended. So
There was also, a lot of people don't realize, but on both sides, on the North and the South, they were basically told, you will fight or you will go to prison. A lot of people also were told, like, especially in the South, a lot of people were told, man, the North is coming down here and they're going to take over everything. They're going to take over your crops. They're going to quarter your house, everything. They're going to, and if you think about it, what's a carpetbagger? The carpetbaggers did exactly that. They came down and, because they went in and they destroyed everything. They burnt everything down. and made it, and killed livestock and all kinds of stuff to make it to where you couldn't, you basically you couldn't survive. You couldn't afford to pay your taxes on your land, and the carpetbaggers came in and bought a lot of the stuff up for pennies on the dollar.
Oh yeah.
And so yeah, there's a whole lot of history that a lot of people, that a lot of people are they they're told one thing, but the history is not exactly what you're being told. When you really go digging and searching and using your noggin just a little bit, you
Well,
start to find out that
if you're only taught one reason how something happened, if you only get one side of the story, then you don't have an opposing view. So you mentally and physically cannot form an accurate opinion of that situation. You
right.
can't. You bring nothing to the table. If all you know is what you've been told and it's one-sided, then just keep your mouth shut, because everything you say is ignorant. And a lot of people sometimes they look at me weird because I'm not scared to talk about race at all. It doesn't bother me. And it's like this. Here's a simple reason. I'm part African American. I'm part Native American. I'm part Scandinavian and English. I'm all mixed up. My great, 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 great grandfather, you can look him up. He's on Google. He's in the history books. He was a Commodore for the Royal British Navy. He actually fought against America in the Revolutionary War. Then he left the service of England, settled in Summerville, South Carolina, had a plantation, had slaves, freedom, married one. Ta-da! That's how things go. It's he's in the history books. He's all over the plaques. He fought in the Civil War. Him and his family fought during the Civil War for the South because that was home, not because he wanted slaves. One of my great great grandfathers was the mayor of Summerville, South Carolina. So they're all in the history books. But so I don't have a problem speaking on both sides because I am both sides. So literally I can't pick a side. I love to pull the ignorance out of the conversation and talk about it. You should hear me in class when I was in college and we talk about this stuff. I'm like, let's go. I don't mind. Because when I walk in a room, people automatically go, look at that great big biker dude, that redneck, that KKK member, and I just laugh. I'm like, you have no idea, none whatsoever, what you're talking about. And it's hilarious how people prejudge the situation, not the person. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
Well, I think that a lot of people don't even know this about when in Congress, the first person to suggest freeing the slaves was where the Republican Party started.
Hmm?
And
the Republican Party actually used to be the Democratic Party. Somewhere through history, here's
the thing. No, here's the thing. They were all Democrats, slave owners.
Hmm?
It was a Democrat Party. Okay, so when this particular person, I can't think of his name, when he suggested that there should be a freeing of slaves, the Democrat senators got up, and one of them got up and took a cane and beat him nearly to death for just a mere suggestion. Look it up in the books. I've got history books in there, some old school history books and it tells all about it in there. They're constitutional books. It tells all about the Constitution being written and the different parts of it. And in fact, a lot of people don't even know this, that at one time when they were talking about making a constitution, that it was actually voted down 10-0, because they felt like if they made a constitution, that then it would be able to be misused. Sound familiar? That it would be able to be misused and misconstrued, and it would actually give the government the opportunity to say, well, if basically if you have to be told, then we can change what we tell you. You know what I'm saying? If you have to have a Bill of Rights that tell you that you have rights, then them rights can be moved upon. And then they came back and they then they said, well, no, wait a minute, we could also see where this could turn into a tyrannical government and go back to a king. So then they made the Bill of Rights. But it actually got voted down. The first Bill of Rights actually got voted down 10-0 to start out.
And I think it got edited and modified a handful, if not a dozen times before they could actually agree on the one that we got. I mean, here's the thing, I don't need, and don't get me wrong, I love our Constitution. I love the Bill of Rights. I think it's an awesome thing, but I don't need a piece of paper and 12 guys in blonde wigs to tell me I got the right to be happy, or I got the right to breathe, or I got the right to be free. I don't need somebody saying it's an inalienable right and God's okay with it. I'm going to do it whether they like it or not. I mean, it is what it is. And I think it's cool that they got traction using that in the Constitution and using those words, but that's a non-starter, bro. I mean, that's a given. That everybody has those rights, and to me, here's the thing. Everybody's so worried about the world and the country and all this discord and everybody arguing and nobody being able to get along, and black people being afraid of white people and white people being afraid of black people and yellow and green and purple. It's all part of the machine, man. If everybody just said, you know what, we ain't listening to this crap no more. We're going to live our lives and we're going to be happy. And everybody in the country got together and just did them. Just you do you, I'll do me, and let's just get along. The machine loses all of its traction. This whole thing comes screeching to a halt, and they got to come up with a new plan. Then they'll bring the aliens in probably, but what are you going to do? It's a money maker. Racial division in the country makes money for the government, just like going to war makes money for the government. When your economy's in the garbage, the number one quick fix, easy way to make money is start a war with somebody else and get the machine going and start building stuff and making stuff and creating jobs of destruction. That throughout history, every time you see the economy get a boost, it's right during and shortly after a major conflict with somebody else. It's a proven fact. War makes money, period. There have been wars fought just for the money, period. It's the way the government pays for itself.
Well, I think that a lot of people need to really look into the mere fact that, let's say, about the voting, and showing voter ID, and they say, well, no, that's a again, that's a racist deal. Well, how is that racist? Well, you're making it hard for black people to vote. And I'm like, well, I don't understand that. How is it making it hard for black people to vote? Are you actually making a racist remark by saying, well, black people don't have a driver's license or an ID card? Are you saying that black people don't have vehicles? Or, what is it you are actually saying?
If you can't drive without an ID, why should you be allowed to vote without an ID? You can't buy beer without an ID. Why should you be allowed to vote without an ID?
That's my point. You can't even go rent a freaking hotel room without an ID. You can't hardly do anything without an ID. So are you telling me that, by saying that, when they say, well, you're just making it hard for black people to vote, well, you're actually making the racist remark and being the racist by saying that black people can't afford to do anything, which is a bunch of crap.
Mm-hmm.
I've got buddies that I went to school with this one dude, man. His name's Stevie, and that's all I'm gonna say. His name is Stevie. And black guy, and he's one of my good buddies. And I'm gonna tell you something. He is a design engineer for a major car company. And that dude has got bank. He is a smart man. And, that's what I'm getting at. I don't understand this whole racial thing, man. It's, I don't know, it's only news media crap and them that buy into it.
Yeah, it's sad. It's really sad. I just
It
thought of
is.
something you brought up in her email that we didn't cover. She mentioned something about being close to the border in Texas, close to
Mhm.
the Mexican border. And this
Yeah.
is something I do want to bring up. That is a very, very touchy situation because
Yeah.
that border is the topic of a lot of things going on right now. It's completely different than the American Canadian border. Okay. Um,
Yep.
the American Mexican border, you've got the cartels down there operating, you've got the human traffickers down there operating. And if something happens here and the balloon goes up and that wall's basically down for all intents and purposes, there's going to be a huge influx of the bad element coming across the Rio Grande. No doubt about that. That is one spot that I
Right.
would definitely be ready to either bug out or seriously defend my position because I think there are people in that area that are going to definitely try to take advantage of the system being down. So yeah, I
Yep.
wouldn't want to set up shop on the border.
You know, you know what's so funny about that whole ordeal? Go try to sneak into Canada and
Yeah,
get caught and see what happens. Go try to sneak into Mexico and get caught and see what happens. Go try to sneak into Japan, to China, to Russia, to Australia, to go try to sneak in any of them and get caught and see what happens to you. But
and
yet,
take that border and put it to the racial what we just said, and instead
yep,
of it being black against white, it's Mexican or Spanish or South
yep,
American or
right,
Central American against the white people. We're just trying to keep them out, and we're being cruel and mean.
right,
No, it's everywhere. There's nothing different. But since that's shoved in your face on the media and it's all the negative stuff, it forces people to sit there and get enthralled and watch this soap opera unfolding on prime time on the border. No, okay. Let me tell you something. If you simply believe that a group of disenfranchised, completely broke people that don't have a pot to piss in or two shoes to put on their feet, if you believe they're somehow going to organize a caravan of multi vehicles and hundreds, if not thousands, of families that are going to all of a sudden, now these are people that don't have anything, okay? Now all of a sudden they've got vehicles, gas to put in the vehicles, food to feed them while they're on the road to travel a couple thousand miles. Okay,
yeah.
those that doesn't add up.
We've
If
talked
it's a
about these
5 mile
scenarios.
walk border, it makes sense. Okay, a caravan that travels thousands of miles, all covered by the news and the helicopters watching them traverse all these terrible ordeals. No, no. If you're in Central America and you ain't got a pot to piss in, number one, you ain't got a car. Number one, you probably ain't got a TV. You probably don't even know what's going on north of the border, 1,000 miles away. The last thing on your mind is getting in a van that you don't know. It just appeared out of nowhere. It's just, oh, there's a van. Take it north. Yeah, that's all. That's all make believe. That's all made up for TV news. That was all scripted for ratings and views. Is all that was. In reality, it doesn't happen like that.
Well, I mean, come on, think about it for a minute. We've talked about these scenarios, similar type scenarios of just being, 400 miles from your house, and how difficult it would be to be able to find food and be able
Yeah,
to, you know, and now you're talking about thousands and thousands of people. Where the hell they eating at? Who? I mean, are you telling me people are giving them food all along the way? You know, I mean, come on, man. You're not talking about 25, 30 people. You're talking about thousands of people.
it's a publicity stunt staged
Yep.
on both sides of the wall to get media attention focused on that wall. That's all that was. That was nothing but a political stunt. Take a few questions.
Stanley Laddie says Backwoods, Georgia had no trouble about voting with ID until media and government started saying all the crap. We have lots of days to vote here, even a few on weekend. It's all BS. Yeah, and see that's the thing, man, is that
If we're going to start using the voting stuff, guys, also be very careful on the words that you choose.
right.
We don't want We don't want to set off any alarms. But yeah, there's issues there. There's issues there. People can't count, and they're in the wrong jobs. But it's I'd like to stay away from the whole voting process and stay with the whole racial cultural thing, as to not throw up any flags. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh, here you go. Here's a good one. Here you go. Stanley. Oop, where'd it go? JH556. There was a heartbreaking video today of a little one being left at the border by smugglers. He was screaming, it broke my heart, and was crying. Yeah, that's all publicity too. Number one, all right, if you're a smuggler, you're not going to leave your product at the border. It's just, I mean, if you're a drug dealer, you're not going to say, you know what, man, let me just leave this bag of cocaine laying right here, right in front of the police station. No, a smuggler, number one, isn't going to go there and, number one, leave their product by the wall. Number one. Number two, you're not going to see them with the product or near the wall. You know, they have other people to do that. You know, it's all just to draw attention. They brought this little kid, already had him prepped to cry, probably wrapped him a couple of good times, and then sat him at the wall, which there just happened to be a TV camera there to catch all this. You know how long that wall is? How many thousands of miles that border wall goes from the Gulf of Mexico all the way to Pacific Ocean there? And he just picked the one spot that was covered by a mainstream news camera to drop off a kid that just happened to be crying.
Yep. Yeah.
Just happened to be a smuggler. You know, that's ad-lib stuff. Dropped off by a smuggler. How do they know it was a smuggler? Did they drop off the kid and then the Mexican police chased him down and caught him and he had his ID that said, hey, I'm a smuggler? No, it's all media. It's a media narrative. They fill it in. They fill it in because it's great ratings. If it was just, hey, somebody lost their kid at the Walmart on the other side of the border and they found him leaning up against a metal wall, it wouldn't even make the news. Somebody left their kid crying outside. I mean, basically the gist of that story was there was a 4-year-old crying. Well, there's 4-year-olds crying all over the world. But when you add in all the narrative stuff to that statement, oh, but he was by the border wall on the Mexican side and he was left there by a smuggler. Come on, man. That's a narrative. Somebody's reading the script.
You know what? You know what stops that? Border security.
Yeah. Yep.
Just saying. That would cut all that out for the children.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's
and people look at it now, all the attention on the border and the smugglers and the coyotes and all this and that and the other, and people are going, oh my God, it's so terrible, it's so horrible. No, really, actually, it's not, and I don't mean that in a bad way. What I'm saying is, right now is the worst time to try to smuggle kids across the border, okay? Because all the attention's there. Right now, everybody's thinking that the smugglers are making bank. Now they're going broke right now. Their pocketbooks are getting hurt because there's too much attention for them to do their job. So they're probably the ones that are more upset about this than anybody, is the ones that are being blamed that are making all the money. They're laying low because it's getting crazy right now. I mean, they don't want the attention. That's not how their job works. It happens and nobody knows about it, and they just get richer and richer.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I'm telling you, I keep saying this.
Klingon Princess says JH556. It was real to that child. You guys are missing the point. I'm not saying that I feel bad about a kid crying, anywhere. What I'm saying is we don't actually know why the kid was crying. The narrative, all the checks on the resume for a major international disaster, all the checks on that piece of paper were checked off by this little kid that just happens to be leaning up against the border wall in Mexico, dropped off by a drug smuggler. I mean, all the checks are there. There could be a million reasons why that kid was crying. Maybe he had crappy parents. Maybe he was lost. Maybe he just got his butt whooped for stealing a stick of gum at the store and he ran up and leaned against a wall trying to get away from his parents or whoever spanked him. We don't know why the kid was crying by the wall, but every single kid in Mexico that's crying right now is apparently being trafficked by a drug smuggler or a coyote or a human trafficker. That can't be the case. That literally cannot be the case.
Well, here's the little interesting bit of tidbit for you on that whole ordeal. They're so concerned about this poor baby crying against the wall. Oh my God, look at this. Now, do you realize that there's a senator up there in Democrat senator. I think it's Vermont or somewhere. It's Blumenthal, the Senator Blumenthal, wherever he's at up there. Do you know that he basically threatened the Supreme Court? Basically, just him and Chuck Schumer basically threatened, saying, telling the conservative judges over this Roe versus Wade that you're going to get yours. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know what it's over? Do you know that they want to now allow a baby to be aborted after a week after it's born? 1 week after it's born. They want to still allow it to be what's called aborted. How do you abort a baby after 1 week after it's born?
I don't even know how to address that.
You kill it. Well, but what I'm saying is what I'm saying is look at the hypocrisy. Look at the hypocrisy in this. They want to allow a baby to be killed 1 week after it's born, but then they want to sit there and make this big ordeal out of the border over a baby crying that's left at the border. And which one is it? Do you care about the baby or do you not?
Right.
That's my point, is that it's hypocrisy. It's just all smoke and mirrors to keep everybody stirred up.
Yeah, that's all it is. I mean, kids make for awesome photo ops. Kids make for awesome political pawns. I mean, and we're all pawns, but the younger you are, the cuter you are, the more mileage you get. And that's what they're doing. They're just getting mileage out of this. And it's ridiculous.
You know what? I think what we ought to do, you know what? Let's don't even worry about a week anymore. Let's give it a month. Let's give it 2 months after they're born and just decide on if it's too much trouble or not. Or maybe the baby ain't just quite perfect. Keeps you up all night and you can't hardly go to work the next day. You got to work a little bit, to have it. So, let's go ahead and move it out to 3 months, and then after we get comfortable with that, let's go ahead and move it out to 6 months. That's the point is when does it stop? Yeah. And it just, I'm sorry, man.
No, it makes perfect sense. I mean, it's you gotta pick. You can't make kids the topic, and everybody's so upset with kids on the border, yet try to pass a law that you can flat out murder a kid after it's born. I mean, what side is it? Do you care about the kids or do you not? You just care about politics. You just care about optics, and you're using them to get mileage. That's all you're doing. That's all they've been doing for hundreds and hundreds of years. That's what they did during the Civil War. That's what they've always done, and then they're never going to stop. We have to stop it, and they get mileage from it. People believe this stuff.
Sorry about that, Stuart W. Let's move it out 30 years and clean house. Right on.
That's ridiculous, but I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, the deal with especially with her email with the scenario. I mean, if you're on the border, I mean, that's just a place I would not want to be. Now, that doesn't say that, your situation sucks. What I'm saying is that's an area that I would definitely be aware of. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that everywhere, within 100 miles of the border from the Gulf of Mexico to the Pacific Ocean is going to be a demilitarized zone. What I'm saying is there are going to be areas of infiltration, so to speak, or areas where the crime rate is going to soar, and people are going to try to take advantage of different things. But if your situation is strong and your location is strong and it's defensible, then it's defensible. It is what it is. That's a decision that you have to make. Dude,
it's just,
like, I mean, the main point I wanted to get across during this is the entire, and here's the thing, whenever you're talking race and religion and culture and cliques and how people act, there is no right and wrong answer. There is no quick fix to any of it. There really isn't. You have to be you, and you believe what you want to believe, but do not force your beliefs on somebody else. If you don't like me because I'm white, that's your call, bro. You do you. I don't care. You know, it just shows a very ignorant way of looking at things. I mean, it's cool. I'm going to be just fine without you. All right. It ain't going to bother me a bit, but don't bring that crap to my front door because it ain't going to happen. You know, but I mean, I mean, you know, it is what it is. I think it's a pretty sad way to live. It's kind of pathetic, actually. But I mean, that's you. If that's you want to live your life, do it.
Well, see, the whole thing about it is a lot of these politicians and a lot of these people that think like that, they do not want freedom for you. They do not
No.
want freedom. They want you to abide by their agenda. They are right. You are wrong. That's the way it is, and you're going to abide by ours agenda, or they call you all kinds of names, and that's how you know right there that they don't really believe 100% in what they're saying, because the minute that you start to make sense to them, they start calling you names. They don't even have an argument. They just call you names. Well, you're a racist. You're a bigot. You're homophobe. You're a xenophobe. You're this. You're that. That lets you know right there that they don't even believe 100%, because when you start making sense to them, it confuses them, because they're like, wait a minute, that makes sense. But that's not what I was told. So no, well, you're racist, and that's what they automatically start doing. So I think that racism would drop by probably 70% if you shut the news media off right now.
If the government wasn't involved, we wouldn't have a racism issue. It would have been eliminated decades ago.
Mm-hmm.
Decades ago, we'd just be a nation of individuals.
Yeah, but
no,
well, that's what I'm getting at. But
keep that alive. They got to keep it alive. It makes money. It sells newspapers. It gets airtime. They got to keep that narrative alive. It's profitable.
But you know as well as I do that the news media is part of the the government. I mean, they're all in cahoots together. And don't think just because, well, everybody needs to understand this. You got right wing and left wing. Let's think about that for a minute. What is it wings? Wings are attached to a bird, right? You got wings on a bird. Bird has a right wing and a left wing, but it's all the same bird. You know what I'm saying? It's there's a few of them in there on each side that are a little different, but the majority of them, right wing and left wing, are all the same. They're in it for whatever furthers their pocketbook.
Yeah. It's sad that I really wanted to do this scenario tonight because it touched on this topic, but here's the crazy part. It's sad that in an SHTF situation, people are already programmed, not saying that the person that sent this email is programmed, but people are already programmed that one of their first reflexes goes to race. But what if, but I live in an all white neighborhood and I'm the only Spanish person that lives in this neighborhood. Are they going to come pick on me? It's sad that you do that. No, it should be, when the balloon goes up, it's neighbor helping neighbor, building a strong community and surviving and moving forward. Not trying to figure out which one of your neighbors is going to beat you up first. It's completely backwards from the way that human beings naturally act. Now there's going to be some dumb stuff. I mean, look at Katrina that went on in New Orleans. It was crazy down there. It wasn't crazy because black people and white people just didn't want to get along. It was crazy because they were abandoned by the government and they were left in a big ass puddle of their own poo for weeks because the government was inept and just left them there helpless. FEMA did nothing. Nobody did nothing. They had to fend for themselves. Well, now, granted, they were had a 2-week warning, but
the government did show up at first. They come in and kicked people's doors in and took their guns away from them.
Oh yeah,
and then they abandoned.
They did the gun taking after people started getting shot because they were ticked because they got abandoned and they were out there. I mean, you're going to have bad elements no matter what. You're going to have people that try to take advantage of the situation. and they use that as a way to come in there and suspend habeas corpus and come in and grab guns. You know, it's happened before. It'll happen again. It's happened many, many times throughout history. It will happen again. You know, but the thing is, you know, it wasn't black on white, white on black, black on black, or white on white. It was people being frustrated because they were left alone, and it felt like their world was coming to an end. People do dumb stuff when they feel like they're abandoned, and they're, you know, and they feel like it's, because let me tell you something. If you would have lived in New Orleans, if you'd have seen it, if you'd have went through it through Katrina, trust me, you felt like it was the end of the world. If you had to live on your roof or in your attic in 100-degree heat for 3 days with no food, no water, yeah, it's the end of the freaking world. Okay. So yeah, people are going to reach out and do some dumb stuff. But when you're completely abandoned and you see the helicopters flying around and you see the news crews taking pictures and you see the movie stars renting John boats for a publicity stunt to go down there and make sure they get it all on camera, or they're paddling out to help somebody. Yeah, man. One thing about Katrina that ticked me off the most was how much traction the media got just from filming, you know, movie stars out there with their little John boat and their waiters out there doing the heroic thing. Really, you can come all the way from Los Angeles, California, buy a boat, get a news crew and a film crew to follow you out there to pick a dog up out of the puddle, or carry a kid. It doesn't show you going in the collapsed house to get the kid. It just shows you wading across 2-foot deep water with pretend sweat on your face like you're doing something great. You can travel halfway across the country to do that, but the largest, most organized military on the planet can't get food and water down there in half the time. Yeah, come on. Do the math, people.
Mm-hmm.
Do the math. It was all for optics, is all that was. That was all optics.
Yeah, it's a lot of it is, you know, I seen a picture of a certain news agency that Ren 1010 rhymes with. A certain big news agency. We'll just call them Ren 1010. They were caught multiple times, but they were caught on this one particular one about the storm that blew in, and it was all this horrible, nasty flooding, man. I mean, it was just terrible. Well, some pictures got leaked out of this guy standing in a ditch and water up to his waist, but you could see people walking back behind him, but you couldn't see it on the camera, the news camera. People were walking behind him and water not that deep. Yeah. It's like, come on, man. You know, dude, I mean, go out and just report the freaking facts. You know, look, hey, we thought this storm was going to be horrible. Thank God it didn't get as bad. There is a little flooding in the streets. People just be careful, understand that there's a ditch right here that you can't see, that, you know, just be careful, you know. That's all you got to do, you know, but they want that smoke and mirrors, that sensationalism. You know, that's what
they got to sell them newspapers, man. They got to get those views. They got to get those ratings up. You know, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, it was a newscast. Yeah, he's right. Hey, Bug Dude, what's going on? What's going on, Mark? Dude? Yeah, it's a sad situation when you're talking about a survival situation, and one of your main issues to surviving is trying to realize that if human beings are going to click off into racial gangs, and, you know, the yellow goes after the blue and the blue goes after the green, you know, it's not checkers, it's not chess, it's got nothing to do with color, it's got to do with surviving, you know.
Yep.
There's going to be good people of all colors, there's going to be bad people of all colors. There is not going to be a racial division. I mean, if you see that, look, if somebody's trying to break in my house, I don't care what color they are. I know what color they're fixing to be.
It's going to be some pink mess going on.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what color you are. If you're here to do bad, if you're here to do bad things, then you better know how to do bad things better than I do. I mean, because it's, you know, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It's going to get metered out. It is what it is.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
It's hard. I mean, you could talk about this topic all night long and never really get anywhere, because some people believe, like I do, like you do, like we do, and some people are just cold, dead set on you know, so and so owes me this because I'm this color, and his great 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 granddaddy was mean to my great 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 granddaddy. Well, that was between them, all right,
No,
not me and you. I got no hate in my heart for you.
you know what the funny thing about it is, you know, my wife and my mom like to do that genealogy thing, you know, the looking up the family tree stuff. We
Mhm.
ain't found a slave owner in our family tree yet. They didn't own slaves. It's too poor. In fact, we have found many people in our family tree that were out there picking cotton.
Oh yeah,
You know,
people
that's what
forget.
they did.
People forget the first slaves that came to America came on the ships from Europe, and they were white. They were Irish. They were Scottish. It was indentured servitude. The first slaves that came over here were white, not black. And the
Yep.
second group of slaves were American Indians, Native Americans. You know, it's
Yeah, and
it's
I mean
it's
that's
optics. It's optics, man. They're not gonna get any mileage on bringing Native Americans' plight to the mainstream media simply because they've done it so many times before, and it's never gained traction because they've done it wrong. Plus, they made so many movies of the red man being the bad guy. It's hard to change that ingrained culture when that's the only thing that's shoved down your throat. You know what I mean? They just get
yeah.
way more mileage out of the other one.
You know, I kind of mentioned this in one of my videos before about that, about, you know, the Indians and stuff here, you know, the Native Americans. And, you know, I don't blame them a bit for, you know, if I had a bunch of people and encroaching in on my stuff, you know what I'm saying, and killing all my meat and, you know, doing the things that were being done, man, I'd be fighting too. I mean, really, it was kind of like an invasion to them. I don't blame them a bit for fighting for what they, you know,
Yeah,
for their land. For
here's a good point that Kim's Farmet. My great grandma came from Norway as an indentured servitude. Difference is slavery was for life. Here's one for you. Here's the difference. Okay. If you're an indentured servant, basically you're a slave, but you condemned yourself to slavery by your own hand, or someone else that could condemned you to a period of time, 3, 5, 7 years of servitude to your master. Well, guess what? If you died of poor health, or your master just decided not to feed you, or he beat you to death while you were in indentured servitude, you died a slave. Okay. If you made it to that time period to where you could be freed, and if he did not lodge a complaint that said that you did not do your job as an indentured servitude well, your time could be extended indefinitely. So even though the word was indentured servitude, it was up for debate in many, many different areas. There were indentured servants that never got released, that died as slaves. They were put in slavery by their own hand. A lot of people with no other option. That was the only way to get to the new world, was say, all right, I'll go over there. I'll work for this guy for 3 years on his farm, help him clear land and build a house, and then I'll be free. Well, that 3 years turned into 30. Well, that 3 years turned into, as soon as the house was finished, they just worked him to death and he was done, because there was no law. There was no order over here. There was no, I mean, who's going to take the side of the slave? No, they're going to err on the side of the rich dude that could afford to have the slaves, that was building this massive plantation, that was going to be in politics. None of us were alive back then. None of us actually went through it. So we can't like speak through all the details. I just know what I found in my research. I actually did a paper on it. And it was some pretty, because I had the same view. I'm like, oh, it's just 3 years. It's kind of like joining the army. You do your time and you're out. Oh, no, 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 no. Lots of time you didn't get out, because they have these loopholes, just like today with contracts and stuff. If there's one little thing, oh, this dude, he's supposed to work for me for 3 years, but this is what he did, this is what he didn't do. And then they would extend the time, sometimes indefinitely. And sometimes it never got back to court because you just disappeared, because you're ticked because your 3 years is up and they're not releasing you. So now you're held in bondage against your will, according to you, because in your mind, your time's up. But, somebody else told you no. Now you're a slave.
kind of sounds like credit cards and debt.
I know, right?
I mean, don't make a couple of payments, and man, they'll slap all kinds of fees and have you paying for a whole lot longer.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's it's credit cards and debt. You know, it's just you're, you know, Sounds like the same idea, I guess you
Yeah,
would say.
yeah,
That's why I don't have them.
I hear you. All right, boys and girls, we are at the 1 hour, 10 minute mark. I'm going to try to keep the Friday night prep rallies to an hour, hour and 15 minutes max, because I need to do some prep time for the members only live stream, which I'm going to do on Fridays at 9:30. At least that's when I'm going to start doing them. And I'm trying to work the kinks out and see if I can get the whole system to actually work. It's a pain in the butt. So I'm gonna go ahead and call this one a night, unless somebody's got any really good questions that we can handle in the next 5 minutes. And then I'm gonna go ahead and prep for the members only live stream, which, if you're a member, it is in the community tab. There's a link to there's a StreamYard link that'll put you on the panel with Backwoods and I, and there's also a link to just be in the chat right above it. So you can choose if you want to pop up and go face to face with us. That's awesome. Click that link. If you just want to be a part of the chat and a part of the live stream, click that link and join us. But you can find that in the members only community tab on my page. And we will go live at 9:30. That'll give me time to take Buddy for a walk and make sure, hopefully, I've got all the kinks worked out of this thing. YouTube has a live stream option for the members only, but it just allows me to go live and I have to talk to the chat. And to me, I don't like that. I like to have somebody on the panel, like actually communicating and bouncing things back and forth off of. It's a much more comfortable process. So I'm choosing to try to figure a way to do it through StreamYard by just posting the links in the members only chat. Laura, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So, so unless anybody's got any real good questions, boo to you, Red Tyrant Hunter. I'm going to try to figure out this members only thing and see if I can start getting these members what they want. So anybody got anything else for us? If not, hopefully I will see you guys over there at in about 18 minutes. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot for joining us. Hopefully I'll see you here in about 18 minutes. If not, definitely Monty, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. If not, hopefully I'll see some of you guys tomorrow. We're canning ground beef tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. And if you make it for that or don't, definitely tune in Sunday night on Backwoods channel for a prep rally at 7 Central, 8 Eastern. And we're going to do it all week long, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's live with us. We do what we do. That being said, we're going to, hey, Moonchild, how you doing? I want to get off here and see if I can go and get this live stream thing set up and try to work the kinks out. Hopefully I'll see you guys over there. And y'all have a good one. We'll talk to you later.
Peace out, everybody. Y'all have a great one.
Stuart W. Ghost, you trying 1 pound per? Yeah, I'm going to try to get 1 pound of ground beef per each pint jar, or at least as close to that as possible.